Hey guys, so for this video, I'm going to be creating a Python CLI tool using the click library that is going to take a JSON string or a JSON file as input and output a beautified version of it. So to get started here, I'm just going to be initializing all of the files for the project. I'm going to be using the UV package manager, so I'm creating a TOML file that holds all of the metadata for the project, such as the name version and Python version. Uh, this projects.scripts block here will be the entry point for the tool, essentially being the command that you'll run in the terminal to run your program. Next, I'm just initializing the project and moving around some of the files here to fit the project layout I have here. Next, I'm going to create a virtual environment. This is generally a good practice in Python, so you can install dependencies for a specific project rather than having conflicting packages globally on your computer. And once it's set up here, I just have to activate it. And once that's set up, I'm just going to install the click package with UV, and then we can get on to writing the files. So to get started here, I'm just going to import JSON for parsing the inputs, sys for reading the files, and then of course click. So click.command will turn your function into a CLI command, and we will define some options below, which are just inputs. The first one being a string, and that's if you're passing the JSON object as a string into the command. The second one being a file, that would be passing the relative path to the file. And then just below this, we're going to define a third option, where if you pass an input and you don't specify a type, a string or a file, in that case, we'll write some logic in the function to interpret which type it is. We'll just call this function main, which will accept the inputs that we define above. First, we're going to evaluate which input was passed and assign that to the data variable. Like I mentioned before, if it's not specified, we'll either have to read it as a file or store it as a string. And if it doesn't fit any of those, then we will throw an error for an invalid input. Now we will format the output, which is just dumping the JSON into the console. And if the JSON doesn't load or dump, then we will raise another error saying that the JSON is invalid. So we should be all set. Now we just want to validate that this works in the console. So we're going to move this name equals main down into my CLI file. I'm going to create a test directory with a valid JSON file and an invalid JSON file so we could test it out against a correct and an incorrect submission. So it looks like I had a typo here. I did click.argument instead of click.argument. So I'll fix that and rerun it. So that did not produce the outcome that we were looking for. Looks like I need to specify an indentation in the json.dumps function, which I missed. Now that that's in there, it's looking like our output is good. Let's check the invalid file, and that did not throw the error that we were looking for. So we need to go back in here, and looks like I did not raise the errors. So I'm gonna fix that real quick, and then run it again one more time against the invalid file, and invalid JSON expecting delimiter. So that looks good. Now we will test it out against a string input. And that looks good as well. Let's check an invalid one, missing delimiter. Yep. Great. No such file or directory. So we are good to go. So now the last thing we want to do here is run the command with the name of the function, the name of the tool, rather than the name of the file. So did that. It did not work as expected. Looks like the UV project didn't set up correctly, so we need to add a few options here. These are just setup tools. Found this by just looking back at the documentation. We just need to specify the path to the function, which is in that JSON beautifier directory. And initialize the build system. And then finally turn on package equals true. And then run a UV sync. Looks like it's missing an equal sign. And another error. Looks like the issue here is that my function has a hyphen in it rather than an underscore. Python packages prefer underscores. So that's why I'm getting this error. And here I'm just going to add another shortened version, just JB, to make it easier to run if you want it that way. And it looks like it built correctly. And now I will test it out with the command. Invalid file is correct and valid file is correct. If you guys like the video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.